All right, welcome everybody. I'm Mars Gelfo,
I'm Nick Platoff. Hi.
and this is a kind of a fun little honor and adventure to get to share. We've been friends for 10,
Almost
9,
9 years.
almost nine
Fall of
years.
2016.
hmm We met touring Asia
Yeah,
in San Francisco Symphony, and have had many adventures
yeah,
since then.
yeah,
And Nick was there for the founding, even before High Range Magic.
yeah.
Yeah, and then there for the High Range Magic, and it came time a few years back, no, a year or so ago, that you asked about the Houston audition. Year and a half.
Yeah, coming up on 2 years ago.
Yeah. So why don't you tell people a little bit about? I'm going to get into Nick's story for a second, but just welcome everyone. This talk, we're going to chat about Nick's story with High Range. He's going to share some of the principles, the practices that worked for him, and then we'll have time for Q&A. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. And everybody, just go ahead and wave your hands like this so we know you're alive. Hey, isn't that fun? Your engagement and presence on video is super wonderful. So if you're willing to um, have your video on so we can see you and track you, that makes it more fun for us. And of course, if you have to have your video off, totally understandable. All right, now let's hit it. So where were you before the Houston Symphony audition with high
Um,
range and trombone playing and
yeah.
everything?
Well, um, let's see. So I joined the San Francisco Symphony in 2016. And
At
so
age,
age 24.
yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah.
audition was just before my 24th birthday. So in my bio I like to say that I was appointed at age 23,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's kind of just on the cusp, but it sounds a little more impressive that way. Um and then I was in love with San Francisco. I loved the organization. My role was associate principal, which is a lot less involved for trombone players than it is for horn. You know, a horn player, you're gonna play big horn solos. Like in a Rachmaninoff piano concerto, you'll have a big solo. The trombone part, it just the satisfaction that you get of just like eating big meaty repertoire as a trombone player is kind of reserved for the principal player's second half pieces. And um, after 7 years or so, I felt hungry to be playing Mahler symphonies and
Mm-hmm.
like the repertoire that I fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was hard to leave because I loved San Francisco and I loved the organization. I had tons of great friends, including you there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, so I hadn't taken any auditions since
Mm.
2016, and I was kind of chilling because I was mostly playing the easy half of concerts, and I was playing, the Sibelius Violin Concerto probably like 30 times, and stuff like that. And I hadn't really been challenged to, I hadn't needed to have like a principal trombone player level world class high range. And I'd worked on it some, we'd worked on stuff together, but when this opportunity to audition for the Houston Symphony came up, it it felt like the time to kind of get my act together as far as being able to really hang with the best in the world on these extremely high excerpts, like in particular the Berg three pieces excerpts
Yeah.
that we talked about, but also to feel bulletproof on like some of the other high trombone excerpts would be like Bolero, also Sprach Zarathustra, Symphonie Fantastique, that go up above like high C into like high concert D, E flat, E, F.
And I mean, you described high range and sort of mid-high endurance as an Achilles heel.
Definitely.
You'd had that Tchaikovsky competition
Yeah.
experience. Can you describe that briefly?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
one of the big things that we worked on together in 2019, the Tchaikovsky competition in Russia opened up the categories of brass and woodwinds for the first time, and so I went for it and I like threw my life into that competition and
Yeah.
really really worked. I hired Mars to coach me,
Uh-huh.
um, which was an amazing experience and learned so much from it. And I felt really quite ready in basically every way. except that during the first live round in St. Petersburg, I had kind of an endurance meltdown, and there were a couple high C's at the end of the third movement of the Grandal concerto, and they just like didn't happen, and I took them down an octave. And I think other than that, who knows? You never know the reasons why you do or you don't advance, but I know that taking that down an octave didn't help me, and I ended up not advancing, which was a crushing failure.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, but back to 2023, I felt like, okay, it's time to like do high range magic for real and get ready for this audition.
Yep, exactly. And show of hands, who's done high range magic for real? I was like in the audience. Yeah, we have a good amount of high range magic. Connor, no, a little bit, a little bit. But you've experienced some high range. But we've got some folks here that have been through the program, so you know what it's involved.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah,
And you needed to. I mean, Nick's your specific situation was you've got an audition coming up, so you can't exactly just be like practicing high range for 4 months,
yeah,
going off the thing. So we had to do a super condensed version of high range magic.
yeah,
And I think that is one thing that I'm interested in sharing with folks
yeah.
of what that condensation. Normally it takes 4 or 5 months, 6 months of. We
Yeah.
did it in how long?
I don't recall exactly. I know that
It
I
wasn't.
know that like
Yeah.
the month leading up, like to be perfectly honest, um, I condensed my preparation to 1 month
Yeah.
before because I had this big premiere of the
Mm-hmm.
symphony that Mars played on, and maybe at some point later on we can talk about the insanely high part that I wrote for you.
Oh yeah.
It was this premiere for like a community orchestra, but I knew you were going to be playing first horn, so I just wrote in completely unplayable stuff, and you crushed it. Um,
With Beethoven 7 on the
exactly,
other half of the
exactly.
concert. Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility. So I mean, if you're out here running this business saying like I can teach you how to be a high range god, like I'm going to expect you to like play ridiculous stuff. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, it was basically a month.
Yeah. So, and feel free, by the way, if questions arise. I've got an eye on the chat. You can drop questions in the chat as we go. It can guide the conversation. Why don't you talk a little bit about the, I don't know, what do you feel were the key principles that actually worked for you, and how did you translate them to the trombone?
Okay, so I think the key principles. I don't know that I've got them ready to be like, well, there are three key principles or
Okay.
whatever, but I
Yeah.
can just sort of
Yeah.
spitball a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
One of the things is that one of the reasons that my high range was not responding in the extreme high register was that my body was tense.
Uh-huh.
So kind of just a refocusing of something that we all know that our teachers have all told us, which is that like relaxation and beautiful sound, beautiful resonant, easy playing, like these things go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And there really is a limit to what you can muscle out with like your
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
And that in order to break through that barrier, you really have to learn to relax. But we all, many, I mean, maybe raise your hand if you've ever tried to squeeze out high notes before and it hasn't totally worked.
Yeah.
Seeing some hands.
High range muscle up
Yeah.
club.
Yeah. Longtime member of that.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. Another thing that ended up being really effective was going through some of the emotional blocks. I think that we probably, I would imagine many people on this call have had some kind of shameful experience where you have that big exposed solo coming up, you've got that big high range moment, you're nervous about it, maybe it's a big audition, maybe there's your rival is in the audience, or I mean, like there are like many opportunities to feel shame around some high note, and it didn't go well, and then that just kind of teaches your body to tense up even more. So we did some emotional alchemy kind of work
Yeah.
to kind of like, first of all, like figure out what was going on,
Yeah.
and connect like the shame that I had to like my relationships with other people or teachers or
Yeah,
whatever, and
right.
or like I didn't do well in this concert or this audition because of, anyway, just kind of like getting under the hood of that.
And you were always asking me for journaling prompts.
Yes.
This, by the way, who's gotten assigned a journaling prompt from Mars before? Yeah. Nick is the progenitor of
Oh,
the.
really?
Oh yeah, you
Nice.
were just like, give me a journaling prompt, please.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of your journaling prompts from that time?
I wish I mean, I can find stuff on. It would take me a
Yeah,
minute. I could probably find
find it in your Apple
things
Notes.
on my notes.
Yeah. What?
We could maybe like include that as a follow up or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. What did you get out of all the journaling?
The journaling. Well, I mean, first of all, it just helped to clarify all of this. Like, I like to think
Mm.
about, when your house is really messy, you just see like a pile of crap.
Yeah.
And then when you finally muster up the courage and you stop procrastinating cleaning up your house, you start to
Tell me what
disassemble the
that's like.
pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened a couple of times for me where like, you take the first pair of, dirty pants or whatever and you like put them in the laundry basket or whatever it is, and then this like insurmountable pile of stuff which you can't wrap your head around becomes like, okay, there's these dirty dishes and this pile of dirty laundry and this, messy paper pile on the table or whatever. And then you just sort of like deal with one thing at a time, and then before you know it, it is actually done and it wasn't a super big deal.
So journaling helps you to get the landscape and
Yeah,
carve out discrete
yeah.
opportunities for, would you call it healing? What would you call it?
I think so. And
Yeah.
often the healing for me, like both in journaling, which is something I totally swear by and have my students do a lot of as well.
Hmm.
It's just that similarly with like our messy kitchens or our messy living rooms, our mind is like a pile of emotions and stories and traumas, and like when we
Hmm.
just spend some time to be like, okay, that thing happened and that thing happened and that thing happened and I felt this way about that. And you just kind of put everything out on a table and you can see everything. Often that's kind of enough to
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
feel a lot better.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
um, without remembering like every single specific thing, and I, by the way, I do remember now that the audition preparation was a month long, but I think uh, we were spending, because you were gonna move or
Yeah, we
something.
worked for a while
We
together,
spent a
kind of
lot
like
of the
on and off.
spring
Yeah, exploring ideas
because you were
slowly.
also
Yeah,
preparing for an audition, and we kind of like had like a co-coaching period for a little bit. Or no, that was the following year.
that was the following year.
That was after the audition.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we'll get our story straight at some point. But anyway, journaling I think just helps to kind of clarify some of those things. And I'll share with you like one of the big eureka moments,
Mm.
which was we were in the musicians lounge at Davies Hall, which is where San Francisco Symphony plays. And it was like 11 at night or something. Like nobody was around, and
Hmm.
we were having like a coaching session and working on some mechanical things and some journaling things. And I remember you gave me some journaling prompts, and then I went home later and I was practicing in my house, and I was like going through the journaling stuff, and you had given me a specific assignment about like it might have been something like journal on this topic for 10 minutes and then do the mechanics for like 7 minutes or whatever, like with
Yeah.
timers and
Yeah.
as you love
That's
to do.
sounds appropriate.
It's the kind of thing you would do. And I remember being shocked that I journaled about something and I may have like done some kind of vocalization of my emotions, and then I played and just the high notes just came out of me. There was something that was like majorly unlocked by the emotional work that I really like, as somebody who has been journaling daily for over 5 years and meditator, and like I mean I'm like into this stuff.
Yeah.
I was amazed that I kind of clarified some emotional stuff, and just something in my body opened up. That there's, I think, one of the key principles. I'm just like, sorry, I'm rambling so much.
This is golden.
But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there are there's certain things that our conscious mind can totally understand. Like if you put your tongue here, it does this with the air, and that will have this result. And then there's just really a lot that we don't fully understand like scientifically or physically. Like
Yeah.
if you it's sort of like the kind of thing, like there's a study about people who say nice things to their plants and the plants grow
Yeah.
I don't know how you explain that with science. Like
Yeah.
I certainly don't understand that.
Yeah.
But I kind of it feels intuitively like correct, like that's something that makes sense.
Yeah.
I found that when this emotional unlock happened and I was able to just play high E flats better than I ever could before, that is it's something that wants that it kind of like my body like knows that makes sense, but I couldn't possibly explain to you like I journaled and then my tongue did this and my like it just kind of
Right.
happened, you know?
Right. Let me turn off original sound for the bird calls in the background. There we go. Yeah.
So that was one thing, and then the other stuff that I think people probably know about already is just the you know the Rollin and the tongue controlled embouchure and
Yeah.
the straight up just like nuts and bolts mechanical things of like what your lips and your tongue and all that are doing.
I mean, I would like for you to actually demonstrate and teach those in your own
Sure.
words. I think it'd be fascinating for people that know it and people that don't know it. Show of hands, who hasn't practiced a Roland before or doesn't know what it is? Anybody? Millie kind of doesn't know. And half the yeah, Virginia not really. Well, let's get it in Nick's
You're putting me on the spot here.
yeah, well, I'll help you out if you get it wrong. Yeah. What's the roll in? How do we roll in?
All right. Well, I guess like maybe can I frame it?
Please.
Sure. So, an analogy, because I have taught this like a little bit in my own way to some of my students. Uh, so something that I've kind of one of the ways that I've rationalized it is like I compare the range of motion of the lips and the embouchure to like doing a bicep curl.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, when as brass players, we have like a bigger sized aperture, lower note, smaller aperture, higher note.
Yep.
And so like the range of motion that our lips are going to do in like the normal everyday playable range of like this note to this note of what you're going to be asked to do, whatever, is like if it were compared to a bicep curl, it's like maybe you're from here to like here, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're trying to grow your bicep strength, you probably should train from all the way here to all the way here.
Mm-hmm.
Even if your job is only going to be to go like this, you can still build more strength from. And so the roll in, roll out kind of spectrum is like something like, fully,
Oh yeah.
fully out to like all the way in, like
Yeah.
something like that.
And you really couldn't roll in when you first started.
Yeah, I really, really couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was like humiliatingly difficult.
What were the mistakes that you were making? How would you accelerate someone who got stuck? You did all sorts of wrong or unhealthy things. Yeah.
God, I'm also intimidated by this camera in my face.
All right,
but it's all
right.
good.
Well,
no, but I mean, if we need to do it, then it's all good. It's not about me. It's about everybody figuring out their high ranges and becoming musical gods.
Yeah, because part of it was you were like, oh, I have big lips. I don't think I can do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then at this point, like you had already like heard a lot of people say that, and you knew that I was full of stuff.
Yeah, making excuses. Your lips are bigger than most people.
They are big.
Yeah.
They are big.
Yeah.
Joe Alessi told me that once that's why I can make such a rich sound.
Who knows?
Hey, I mean, it's Joe Alessi, right?
Yeah.
I was so touched when he said that. Anyway.
I'm glad. So you remember all the funny, you did like really inefficient pathways.
Yeah.
You tried to use your teeth to roll in.
Yeah, I used the teeth to kind of like grab
my
lower lip like that, like a little.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that for a while.
Right.
Then there was kind of an early version where you were helping me to learn to roll in with. I would just like take my fingers and kind of
Oh, interesting.
do something like that. We've got a Mick Jagger picture.
The rollout.
It's a beautiful
Rollout
rollout
meme.
there.
Yeah.
I didn't know Mick Jagger was a high range magic student.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to remember all the ways I was doing it wrong, but we would get together
Yeah.
regularly and work on this stuff. I found it really helpful watching your videos, just kind of like watching you do it a lot. I did it in the mirror a lot. There was I remember when I kind of like figured it out or made a major breakthrough in rolling in. Normally the practice protocols that you had given me were kind of in the box of like, I'm not like committing to high range magic the way that these, like I'm already like a working, I don't know. I guess like I wasn't willing to, what we somehow agreed upon was that like I would have these kind of like short
Yeah.
modacity practice sessions where I would practice rolling in for like 3 minutes or something, or 2 minutes, whatever it was, and then I would move on to the next thing. And I think that I wasn't, one of the reasons that it wasn't happening was I just wasn't fully committed. And I was like, okay, like I'm struggling. I don't think I can do this. I'll just do it for 90 seconds until I'm done. Like I'm showing up. And there was one day I remember being really frustrated. And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't care if this takes me 20 minutes in the mirror. I'm just going to like go into the bathroom and look in the mirror and figure this out. Here we have Bill Clinton with a beautiful roll in there.
Really nice roll in. Obama's
Same with Obama.
And wow. And Biden. Wow.
This appears to be like a prerequisite for being commander in chief, I guess. Do you have a goal of becoming president of the United States one day?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the roll in for it, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've got the best French horn high range of any presidential candidate ever.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So far.
I mean, we never really heard Abraham Lincoln or George Washington play.
I'm sure Trump would claim that his was
better
than mine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're not going there, though.
I have the best high range. It's higher than anybody's. You never heard a high range like this before. Anyway, so I was frustrated, and it's weird to make a joke and you don't hear anybody laughing, but I see some people laughing a little bit. So anyway, oh yeah, Bush. I don't know. This is amazing. Like all of these things are just appearing in the chat. You people are hilarious. Anyway, I was frustrated. I went in the bathroom and just stared at my lips in the mirror for 20 minutes, you know, like you do, and just said like, I'm not leaving until I figure this out.
Yeah.
And eventually I did kind of figure out like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's not I mean, this isn't the greatest thing ever, but like, you know.
Yeah, let's turn on the original sound so they can hear your squeak.
It's like serviceable, maybe. I got to a point where I could do something, you know. There was a long time I couldn't do anything close to that.
Yeah.
And I understand. I mean, I've heard your squeak a lot, and it's like higher and louder. And I think something that you told me at one point was like, because I was frustrated about it.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons that I wasn't wanting to like commit to the practice, because I felt blocked.
Anyone resonate with that? Yeah.
It's more fun to put in hours in the practice room on things that we can already do pretty well. But you said something that really put me at ease, which is like, listen, like, you know, we're doing these squeak practices, these squeal things, the roll-ins, like all these things. But the point of these practices is not to like squeak really well. The point is to like get better at playing your instrument and become a better musician and just have access to this tessitura. And even the interesting thing was that even when I wasn't doing the roll-in correctly or getting a loud squeak or anything, I was getting better.
Yep.
And ultimately that's so much more, that's the whole point. That's the valuable thing.
Yeah. That's a really important takeaway, is you can do these practices and your squeak, your squeal might not be improving, but you're still working the muscles.
Yeah.
You're still exploring the fine coordination, and so it does have benefit. Yeah. What about your I remember when I tried to squeal on your trombone. Did we learn something from that? I remember like picking up your trombone once and being like, "Let me try this thing."
I
And
remember you doing it.
and there was a mouthpiece placement issue that was specific to trombone that we learned.
Yes.
That maybe you don't squeal down the middle of the mouthpiece, but you anchor. Is that
I feel
right?
like I want to say you put the mouthpiece up a little bit higher, and then it worked better.
I think so. Is
Or
that
maybe
something
you put it lower.
that you've experimented with that bigger mouthpiece size? Or like where do you...
I have not really thought about that.
So if you
Very
grab your
much.
trombone and you play, just play a regular note.
Just gonna
Yeah. And so you can feel where your lips are in the mouthpiece.
hear.
And play a low note and notice where that is. Okay. And then do a squeal.
I mean, when I go into the pedal register, like
Yeah.
it goes from like. I mean,
It's a
it's
rollout.
kind of hard
It's
to
a rollout,
feel.
yeah.
But I mean, in addition to the rollout, like the angle of my mouthpiece changes a little bit. So maybe I'll hold it with my other hand so you can see more easily. So that I kind of do a little bit more of an upstream thing. At least that's what feels natural for me in the low register.
Yep.
What are you nodding about?
Well, because I teach everybody in high range magic to do that.
Oh, great.
And I'm always
Cool.
harping on them that their angle is not extreme enough.
Oh,
Yeah.
that just has always felt natural to me. Okay,
That-
so now you want it? What do you want to hear? A squeal? Or
Yeah, and then see where your lips are inside the mouthpiece if it's
for a squeal
Yeah.
or just for a?
for a squeal. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's like a good thing that the squeal didn't immediately happen.
Anybody feel validated by Nick's squeal attempt? Yeah.
Principal trombone right here.
Yeah. And that's enough. Like what you're doing right now, and this is the whole point, is that you were able to get a very successful change in your high range.
Yeah, I think I've done better squeals than that, and like to be just perfectly honest, like my season in Houston ended
Right.
a month ago. I've not been practicing regularly.
But I just heard you playing super high notes.
It's true.
Right before this thing, you can like play your high range now. Yeah, which is what are we going up to concert
B
pitch wise?
flat.
Yeah, could you do that before?
Not like that.
Yeah.
Could kind of like taste that note, but now there's
I remember previous to
Yeah,
working
yeah.
together, you were not
before
tasting
before
that
not
note.
tasting
Yeah.
that note. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the F below that was like, you were really maxing out of that F.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it's interesting like that. I feel like I do that every day now.
Yeah. Yeah. You did not do that before.
No.
That was another thing that we talked about, was making sure that you do include that. Like, oh, this is my range,
Yeah.
and this is what I warm up to every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an important part for you, for Jeff Nelson, for others that I've worked with.
I'm just gonna grab this water.
Yeah, sure thing. What else? Do you want to talk about the 6-minute routine?
Sure.
Yeah. Because this is something that really, for me, was... I was like, whoa, Nick's not doing the 20-minute practice along. He's not going to watch my hour-long training videos.
Yeah.
He's not... He's like, I'm going to... Give me 6 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do this practice.
Yeah. Well, and I did end up being very consistent with
You
that.
were, once
and I
you did
also
that,
did
yeah.
this I did 100 days of practice
Uh-huh.
this year.
Yeah.
And did that 6-minute thing from.
Oh, interesting.
So, kind of, not the easiest thing to see, but this is my Modacity. Modacity was a app that Mars made before High Range Magic, and these are just a couple of the routines that he made on here. I'm sure he can. There you go.
Yeah.
Link. And so this is just Nick April 17th, and I think this would have been April 17th, 2024, I want to say.
Okay.
And yeah, it's 6 minutes and 25 seconds. It starts with 30 seconds of shaking out the body and affirming and visualizing.
What was your affirmation?
My affirmation, which is such a great one, is my abundant high register delivers freedom and joy.
Yeah.
And what that means to me is one of my high range idols was my former colleague in San Francisco Symphony, Mark Inouye, legendary principal trumpet. I mean, just phenomenal musician. We could talk about him for hours.
Yeah.
And he's principal trumpet in a major gig. Of course he's a high range legend.
Yeah.
And one of the highlights of my seasons there was playing, I got to play West Side Story symphonic dances a couple times sitting next to him. And we get to the mambo section, which is, humongous high, lead trumpet moment. And it's something that's hard for a lot of trumpet players, but it's something that Mark, through either talent or, he's also one of the hardest working people ever.
Hard. Yeah.
But he sounds incredible on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a feeling of, it's the opposite of oh God, here comes the high note. It's oh yeah, baby, here comes Mark is gonna shred this thing in the mambo.
Yeah.
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 And there was this giddy joy that I would feel leading up to that moment and during that moment while he was just up there screaming.
Yeah.
And so when I do my 30 seconds of shaking out and affirming and visualizing, I'm imagining that feeling of oh yeah, baby, this high note's gonna be so good. Everybody's gonna feel so happy about this.
Yeah.
And thinking, just feeling that feeling, except it's me doing, being the one who's providing that joy for other people, and also feeling it myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
After that, there's just getting into stuff I'm sure many of you are familiar with. There's 30 seconds of the spit buzz.
They wanted to hear the affirmation again? My abundant high range.
My abundant high register delivers freedom and joy.
And you see how Nick is really living into the energy of it?
Yeah.
He's not just saying words. That's what creates the big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say also with that, one of the things that was a very effective combination was showing up for this 6-minute practice every day, saying that affirmation, and as my high register became more powerful, more consistent, the affirmation felt more and more true.
Yeah.
And, this past season in November, we did the Berg 3 pieces in Houston Symphony.
Wow.
And this was, a scary thing for me. I think probably the hardest trombone part in the standard orchestral repertoire. And I didn't have tenure, and the music director was conducting, and I was freaking out about it for months. And then we got there, and I basically crushed it.
Yeah.
There's a very scary exposed moment 30 seconds into the piece.
Yeah.
Pianissimo high E flats.
Uh-huh.
And it's a solo moment. And if you crack that, if you play the it's obvious. And I didn't miss a single one.
Yeah.
And that
Nice.
just knowing and the first couple times it came out, I was oh my God, that was miraculous. I can't believe it just happened.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the week, it's it's not that I was that's something that I think I'll always be a little nervous about.
Yeah.
But the feeling of I'm playing this high note and I see my colleagues around me, they know it's hard, they know it's coming, and it went well every time, and they were all
Yeah,
that's
you
something
delivered the
everybody can
thing.
be happy about.
You really got to live and experience
Yeah.
your affirmation in tangible reality.
Totally.
Yeah. You want to finish with
Sure,
talking through
absolutely.
the
The
practice
rest of
routine?
the stuff, 30 seconds of spit buzz, a minute and 10 seconds of spit squeak, then roll out ascension for 1 minute. So I would start on the pedal register, and then ideally without shifting too much. That
kind of
And I would just go, just
as
lip
high as
slur
you
up
can.
as high as I
Yeah.
could. Then a 30-second playing break, remember your wins and visualize the future.
Uh-huh.
And that, that I would say is something that kind of thing is not something that I had gotten from other teachers.
Uh-huh.
One of the things when we were doing kind of like promo stuff for this class, I have asked all of my brass heroes about like how do you work on high range, blah blah blah, and nobody was talking about like visualizing the future, remembering your wins.
Uh-huh.
This is, that's not the kind of thing where you feel yourself getting better in the moment. But if you do that every day, it's gonna.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then after that, there are just a couple more mechanical things. There's squeal, and the way you wrote it in my practice thing was squeals are happening abundantly
Uh-huh.
for 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Then 45 seconds of tongue-controlled embouchure singles.
Yeah.
And then another minute of squeals are happening abundantly.
Yeah.
And I pretty much used this 6.5 minute routine as my warm-up.
Uh-huh.
It would be, more or less the first thing I would do. There were other, if anybody was, following my 100 days of practice on Instagram starting in January of this year, I did a lot of work on fast single tonguing as well. That's also just been another thing that I learned to double tongue. My teacher taught me when I was in like 7th grade. And so I would just double tongue stuff that was too fast for me. And
Yeah.
But it really is nice to have a faster.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I would do those two things and then basically start straight into repertoire practice.
Yeah.
Like this ended up being a good warm-up routine for me as well.
Well, yeah, you're covering the full, like you mentioned, the full range of motion. When I remember talking to one of the Philly horn players, and they were like, I asked about their warm-up, they're like, yeah, I spend about, 45, 60 minutes, just gradually work my way up to like a G at the top of the staff. It's like a concert C.
Yeah.
I don't really want to play higher than that because I don't want to shoot my face. I want to make sure the first hour of the day I stay away from high notes. And I'm like, dude, I just like wiggle up to a high B flat, and I'm warm and I'm good for the day.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're doing it in a healthy manner, you can warm up a lot faster than conventional wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mars we took a trip to, it was Costa Rica, I think, when you started identifying me as a sloth. Because sloth is the national animal of Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Mars likes to like make fun of me about is like I love to take naps. And a lot of the time, like whatever problem in life or music or whatever I'm facing, I take a nap and then it just sort of magically resolves. And so he started like lovingly referring to me as a sloth. At first I was insulted to be referred to as a sloth, but actually sloths are amazing. And anyway, I've never wanted to do like a long 45-minute, like I have to do this fundamentals routine thing.
Right.
And
right.
I'll say one other thing. This was two of my absolute trombone heroes, Ian Bousfield and Christian Lindberg. Asked them both about high range endurance. And Christian Lindberg said, well, when I was younger, I practiced for like 8 hours a day. And so like I was just strong as an ox and I never ran out of steam in the high range. And Ian Bousfield just said, oh, I just tried to figure out how to not get tired.
Right.
And it's like, okay, which one of these do I want to do?
Neither one, really, right?
Oh, but one of them involves practicing 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And the other one is just sort of figuring out how to not get tired.
Right.
I want to figure out how to not get tired.
Right. But how do you do that?
6 minutes a day, high range magic.
Yeah, I guess so. Somebody asked, actually, Connor asked, what were you doing as an undergrad in college to get where you are now and the wonderful career that you have?
Okay, I did my undergrad at Northwestern.
Yeah, were you doing the 45-minute, the longer warm-up kind of stuff then? Like, what were you? Yeah.
Not really. I guess to a certain degree. I was bouncing around a little bit in college. One of the things that was a little tricky and also wonderful about the way the trombone studio works there, or has worked anyway, is that there's like a team of professors and you see somebody different every week. And so I think where most kind of conventional conservatory education systems, you have one primary teacher, you see them every week, and all of them are going to be working on high range with their students and saying like, okay, they give them their exercises or etudes, whatever it is, and they're going to check in on that every week and make sure they're making progress.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to play for these 5 like amazing teachers, but because it would be sometimes be like a month in between my lessons with one particular person, it dawned on me like my junior year that if I really wanted to be serious about getting better, I needed to be responsible for my own growth. And I figured out like, okay, I need to work on this and this and this and this and this. And I actually did kind of make myself like a 45-ish minute routine around that time. And articulation, having like being able to articulate clearly across all registers was a big thing that I remember working on a lot. But I would say like I really think that I can identify 2 really important things I was doing in undergrad that I think helped the most.
Yeah.
The first is that I was a humongous sponge and giddy music nerd, and I heard the Chicago Symphony every single week. I was studying conducting pretty seriously at the time there, and so I went to string quartet concerts, and I went to my friends' violin lessons, and I was friends with pianists and singers, and I was
So you were like a musician first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big things that I think that there's just sort of a limit to how much you can grow as a musician if all you listen to is horn.
Oh,
all
yeah.
you listen to is trombone.
Yeah.
And there's so much we can listen to. Like, I just exposed myself to a lot.
Yep.
And I was conducting, I was singing, I was writing, I was arranging. I did a double major in music theory. I heard the Chicago Symphony. I went to like every recital. I feel like I went to like 5 concerts a week. And sometimes I would just go to the first half or just the second half of something that I wanted to hear, but I was flooding my ears with music all the time.
Brain soaking is what we call that in High Range Magic. Yeah.
And
what was the second thing?
And also before that, I mean, I had the advantage of like my dad being a musicologist and just humongous music nerd growing up. And we would play Drop the Needle in the car. He would just turn on the classical radio station and have me like kind of guess like, is this a Schumann piano piece? Is this a Bartok string quartet? I skipped my junior prom to go hear Mahler 3 at Carnegie Hall with the Dresden Staatskapelle. Like, you know, like music was like my life. I would say that's something that you can't really I can't really overstate that enough. Just like music was
huge sponge. Music was the absolute focus.
Yeah.
What was the second thing?
The second thing was I noticed in the trombone studio that there were certain people who came to school and they were really good at this thing and they had this weakness in this area. Like I'm remembering in particular a few members of the trombone studio who just like had great high registers and they didn't play well in the low range. And when they graduated, they could still play high or they could play even better in the high range, but they still couldn't really play low.
Yeah.
And it kind of dawned on me that watching certain people do that and not work on their weaknesses, they were kind of missing the whole point of at least within our very specific niche of like, if you're a classical musician, you're trying to win an orchestra job, it doesn't really matter if you're by far the best person at this particular thing in the audition if you can't do these things well. You have to be like, in baseball they would call it like a 5-tool player. You have to be able to identify the range of things that, you know, I'm just going to speak to my own world of like orchestral musicianship. You have to be able to play high. You have to be able to play low. You got to play fast and slow and legato and soft and loud and this style and that style and these different things. And if you really do 10 of those things well and you suck at 2 of them, you're not really employable. And it doesn't matter how spectacular you are at those 10 things. That being said, if you're trying to do some other genre of music where you don't need to be able to do these things, then don't worry about it. But if, for those of you interested in like classical auditions, like you really have to put the time in on your weaknesses. And so I think if you're here, probably you think of your high range playing as like something that you want to work on and you're doing the right thing. But if there's another thing that you're struggling with, like your articulation isn't clear, or you can't play fast, or your legato isn't like smooth and creamy, like it will be hard for you to get the results, the external results that you want, until you just put in the time on that. So I would say, so it's so easy for me to ramble, but the two things were just like music in all the time. And my junior year, it just dawned on me, like, I need to be responsible for working on my weaknesses every day.
Yep.
And once I started making big progress in that, that's when I started getting accepted to summer festivals. I got accepted to New World and Civic. I started making the top ensembles at Northwestern consistently.
Yeah.
And then it was a couple years later that I found professional audition success.
Makes sense. Regarding going into weaknesses, then I want to talk a little bit about this, and I want to talk about the exact trick that you used with the Berg 3 pieces in your Chicago Symphony.
Yeah.
Prep, because that was huge. The when we're doing high range magic, there's these pillars of mindset, relaxation, mechanics, and musicianship, which you could be strong or weak in particular. And then within mechanics in particular, there's the TCE, the roll in, the roll out. Pretty much it as far as lip mechanics. Squealing is part of rolling in. Yeah. So do you think that what was one of those weaker, or we worked on your TCE quite a bit too? That was like unconscious, an area of unconsciousness for you. First.
Yeah. I think like the TCE stuff is not something that any of my trombone teachers had ever taught me about.
Yeah. Can you explain it for folks that aren't?
Yeah. So I think the way that I would, he's a professional and he would, I think, explain it better. But what I thought about is like the back of my tongue kind of raising up, so which increases the airspeed as you go into the upper register.
Yeah.
And I just never really thought about it. That's something that actually came a lot more easily to me than the Rollin. The Rollin took me forever to figure out.
I remember you being very confused on TCE.
Really?
Do you remember that? And you were like, whoa, I've never thought about my tongue before. What am I doing in my mouth? And then it's just weird. And now my place of articulation is confusing. Where do I tongue? Where do I start the note?
My memory is failing
Wow, that's great. This is good to know though, because like a lot of you, I know some of your journeys, you've gone through that too, where you're starting to learn TCE and you get all in your head about it. Nick is proof that if you don't overthink it too much, just do the practices.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't really remember a struggle. I remember the Rollin struggle. Big
Wow,
time.
I remember coaching you so hard on TCE. It was so frustrating.
Anyway, I mean that part like makes a lot of sense to me now, and I think that ended up feeling like a super important lever, like maybe as important as the Rollin work.
Well, we were working on Beethoven V. That's when your TCE came in.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I had Beethoven V coming up with San Francisco.
Yeah. Was it a bunch of E flats or E's?
There are 2 high Fs.
In Fs.
Concert F.
Yeah. So
I should probably revisit some of that. I have Beethoven V coming up in Houston in like 2 weeks.
Great. Do you remember how you practiced for it?
We did this like tongue stop thing.
Yeah. Let's demonstrate it.
Okay. All right. Ooh. Principal oboist over here.
That's right. Okay, so we've got
Eugene Isotop is, 2 hours north and he can hear you playing his solo.
Interesting. Do you put any thought in this process while going between alto and tenor?
Put any thought in? I mean, I think that when I was preparing Beethoven V, like I just practiced it on alto.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of all the same for me. I didn't think too much about
Yeah.
that.
Different instrument. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about what you did on Beethoven V.
So we did, as I remember it, a tongue stop thing where one of my fears was, at this point I think like I could air attack an F. So it's this. So I mean I kind of undershot it, which would sometimes happen, but I could air attack pretty reliably.
Yeah.
But I was having trouble doing a solid. Let's see where I am.
Yeah.
That's not like, I'm not thrilled with that. It's better
Yeah.
than it's been in previous years.
Yeah.
But we did something like, I'll just demonstrate on a lower note. As I remember it, play the note, do a tongue stop, keep the air pressurized, and then release the tongue. And that's pretty much how a very crisp articulation happens anyway. So it would be something like,
Yep.
and all I'm doing there is going like,
Yeah.
and I played for Barbara Butler, the trumpet professor at Rice, a couple times this year. Brilliant pedagogue. And she explained this kind of thing as she would say, you can try this at home if you want. Say hut, like a hut,
Hut.
and just let the air kind of get stuck behind your tongue, and then ta.
Ta.
And so she would say
Hut.
hut
Ta.
ta, hut ta. And that just, we've all been doing hut ta unconsciously all the time we've been playing brass instruments, but that just kind of helped me understand like literally what's happening in your mouth when you articulate. You have air, it gets pressurized behind the tongue and then released all at once. That's a clean articulation.
Yeah.
So on the high F, we did something like,
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
I would do an air attack, get the air pressurized, and then release it, clean articulation. And that helped my body to kind of learn what it felt like to just have a reliable.
Yeah. You find the note.
Yes.
And then you stop the air on the note, and then you just release it. A good way to practice this is with the mouthpiece. If you just practice like, that just gives you the sensation of what you're doing with your tongue, of not backing off the air pressure. Yeah. And then that kind of ties into the Berg three pieces.
Yeah.
With the high E.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little?
Sure.
That
So
was the tip.
the lick is it's in the third movement, the march movement of the three pieces. And basically, like you've been playing for a whole page, face getting a little bit tired, and you have this lick.
Yep.
Which actually right now feels pretty
nice.
easy to do. I like honestly have not been practicing
Yeah.
consistently, but
But you practiced it a bunch, so you called me up. This is you didn't really worry. We didn't work too much on this in Houston, but you called me up before Chicago,
yeah.
like 4 days before your final round,
Yeah, something like that.
saying this is
I'm still worried about this. I'd gone and played for a bunch of people, and it helped a lot. I'll say one other thing, like unrelated to high range magic specifically, but just a good thing. I went and I had a week off from Houston Symphony, and that was a whole tone scale starting on concert C. Just going down, and then so anyway, I had this week off, and I went to go have a couple lessons, and I went to go play for, among other people, Joe Alessi, who's just one of my heroes, and I just wanted to hear him play that thing.
Yeah.
And just kind of watching him and hearing him do it a couple times made me a lot better at it.
Yeah.
Even, I don't know exactly what's going on in his mouth, but I think that there's information that we can osmose.
Absolutely, mirror neurons and stuff like that. Yeah.
So anyway, I know that's a part of high range magic too. I mean, you can watch videos of him doing stuff,
And that's what we would do that together when we were
exactly.
training. I'd be like, Nick, just take in the information, just be present, don't try and judge, categorize.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to derail this, but I'm just remembering I want to talk a little bit about your perseverance because you got frustrated a lot.
Uh-huh.
But I want to bookmark that for a second. Let's talk about the Berg trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we kind of took that exercise. Do you want me to explain it? I mean, you would explain it probably better,
So-
but I can do it if you want.
So it was 4 days before, 4 or 5 days before Nick's gonna go play finals of Chicago Symphony, which you earned through prelims.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't auto advanced.
Yeah.
So dude's about to fly up to Chicago for potentially dream job, and crushing it. Like you're sounding the best you've ever played in your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
You're just coming off a big win for Houston Symphony. You've just been offered Rice professorship
Yeah.
of trombone.
Yeah.
It's like everything was, all cylinders were firing except this one excerpt.
Yeah.
And it's 4 days before the audition.
Totally.
And he's like, it's not working. So what we had him do was, it was the jump between, what's the
The concert E flat and the concert E.
an E flat to an E. That's
An
right.
augmented octave higher.
That's right. And so,
I incorrectly called it a minor ninth
oh,
in our previous conversation.
is it an augmented eighth?
It's an augmented octave, because technically it's like the same. If it were an F flat, it would be a minor ninth. Anyway, I just want to
Thank you.
apologize to everybody about that. It won't happen again.
Yeah, thanks.
Maybe it probably will happen again, but
Yeah, so then we needed to find a strategy that would get you comfortable on that you could do in 3 or 4 days without wrecking your face and still being in hitting all the other excerpts.
yeah.
Do you remember step by step? Because it was like, it wasn't just like do this now. It was like do this for a day, then do this, then do that.
Let me find the note. Unless you think you can find it more quickly on your.
Ah, feels so good. There was something about we definitely used the tongue stop.
Yes.
I think the first thing that we had you do is study just the E and figure out, how do I make an E? How do
Here
I
it is.
start an E comfortably? Oh, you found it?
Yes.
Yeah,
We have a whole bunch of shared iCloud notes.
I know.
Okay. So here is the pip E stop trick.
Yeah.
Buzz a note, stop it with the finger, stay pressurized, and release.
Like we just showed.
Buzz and stop with tongue,
Mm-hmm.
stay pressurized, release.
Yeah.
Hutta.
Yep.
Then the next one, play note, stop it with the tongue, and release the same note. Then play note number 1, stop it with the tongue, stay pressurized, release note number 2, which requires knowing where note number 2 lives.
Yeah. Didn't quite know where it was, but yeah.
And then adjust the chops in between notes under pressure, like pressurized.
So that's what I want to really get to. So I learned this from the Beethoven Horn Sonata. Big jump. And so I'd practice this like, and really move my chops a lot. Can you cameraman it? And just see how much has to happen while I'm pressurized. And so that movement has to happen in between the notes. It's a pretty big movement for me in order to get that to happen. And so you want to practice that movement in between while you're pressurized. And that's what we had Nick doing. Yep. Finding what the jaw and the tongue and everything has to do in between the note.
Yeah.
So you were doing that. You first had to find where the E was comfortably,
Yeah.
and then approximate it.
Mm-hmm.
And how was that for you?
I think I made some good progress quickly.
Yeah.
And at this point, I feel like I think that the excerpt was not where I wanted it to be, but it was already it was in by far the best shape it had ever been.
Yeah.
It was just my reliability,
confidence.
my confidence on it. I think that was the big thing.
That's what we did, was we had you go through your mental pathway from the E flat to the E, so that when you were here, you thought the negative thoughts, got through the negative thoughts, and then started thinking positive thoughts.
Hmm.
So it was like, it's what are the slowing down, what are the thoughts that you're thinking as you approach this leap, and practicing getting your mindset going in the right direction as well as your mechanics.
Hmm.
That seemed like that was something that we did.
Yeah.
Heidi says, what were your favorite super learning techniques?
Oh my God, this is like literally. I feel like I say this so often in every single lesson, and honestly, I don't think many of the students actually do it, which is probably why they haven't won auditions yet. That's just throwing a little shade at some people. The number one super learning technique I have for audition preparation is a free, easy to do process. Before you practice, listen to a recording of the excerpt and look at the score.
Yeah.
For not just those 8 or 32 measures, but ideally like a whole movement or a couple minutes, and then practice. I think this does a lot of things. Again, like, I love conducting, was studying it pretty seriously for a while. If you're going to conduct, you really need to have, ideally, much better knowledge of the score than if you're just playing trombone or playing horn or something. And I think as a result of that, like the level of musicianship you need to be like a world-class horn player is like maybe here, or trombone. Trombone is like down here. To be a world-class conductor, you need to be like a musical monster.
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at the score, you hear things differently because you see everything that you're actually hearing. I know that when I just listen to things, I can tell you almost anything the trombones are playing. My ear is going to naturally go there. But some kind of counter melody in the viola, or some subtle, second oboe thing, like I'm not going to consciously be aware of that. When you look at the score, you become consciously aware of all of those things way, way, way more. Yeah, we're seeing brain soaking in the chat.
Yeah.
And so when I made that a rule before my San Francisco audition, I think that was the biggest thing that made the biggest difference. Ultimately, having now sat on a lot of audition committees, the people who win the job are the ones who can make me hear the rest of the orchestra in my head when they play. I mean, one of the most outstanding auditions I ever heard was David Cooper, when he was offered the job for principal horn in San Francisco, and I mean, that's a whole nother story. But when he played the audition, my notes were just like, yes, wow, oh my God, holy shit, so majestic, goosebumps. and I think that everything he played, it sounded like Mahler 5. It sounded like Pictures at an Exhibition, whatever it is.
He does a ton of listening.
Yeah.
Too. And he'll go, one of Dave's favorite tricks is, if it's Dvorak, he'll be listening to the Czech Philharmonic, or like 3 different Czech, recordings. And he really gets stylistically obsessed with stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. We did a class with Dave on auditions, by the way.
Yeah, I bet it was awesome.
It was good. Okay.
So that's the number one brain-soaking thing that I have. And specifically, like, also with rhythm, you will not play it rhythmically. Your rhythm will be great. You literally just listen to it. It's so fresh. It's like you're playing it with the orchestra.
Yeah.
That's my number one tip for auditions.
Ryan said, when you were preparing for Houston, were you working on other music to complement your audition prep, or were you just slamming excerpts all the time?
Slamming excerpts. Slam the excerpt. I was only doing excerpts at that time, but I will say that...
But were you slamming them?
Was I slamming? It depends on the excerpt. I think Berg was pretty slammy.
Yeah.
I like to do a lot of different things. Musically, I like to compose. I do my singer-songwriter project. I like teaching. I play in the orchestra. I like to play with bands and improvise and whatever. And I think about like the different things that I like to do as kind of chapters within a year. And so my audition prep the way that has worked well for me um, is when I'm preparing for an audition, I'm saying no to everything else that I possibly can. I'm just, I'm trying, ideally not slamming the excerpts, but I'm practicing the excerpts intensely.
But
And
you're in
then,
an
and then
orchestra as well,
that's true.
which is helpful.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
don't say no to orchestra gigs if you're audition prepping.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you need to drive 3 hours to get there. And anyway, that's another.
I mean, I know for me with New York Phil, like I didn't drive 3 hours, but I flew a whole day to Philly to play with Philly Orchestra
Yeah,
to prep for New York Phil, and that's if you have the opportunity.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
Hmm.
But I think uh, as far as like complementing it musically, well, I'll say like for the Chicago audition that I did participate
did a
in,
recital.
but did not
Yeah.
win. The prelims were in November, finals were in April, and so as soon as I found out that I advanced, um, I was thinking, okay, I definitely don't want to be slamming these excerpts for the next 5 months. Let me plan a recital in February, and I'll work on different repertoire that will help me to grow as a musician, and
Yeah.
then have like a little bit of a decompression period. So I started 100 days of practice January. After the audition in November, right after the prelims, I played Berg 3 pieces. And then after that, we did like a big Viennese waltz program, which was not hard trombonistically. And then a bunch of Christmas stuff, which was pretty easy. Took some time over Christmas, hung out with my family. Um, January 1, hit it with 100 days of practice, doing high range stuff, doing fast tonguing, and preparing a recital program in February.
Yeah.
And then after the recital, took like 10 days. I was still practicing, but not intensely. And then I began my audition preparation March 1st for the April 21st final.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not so much about, I have not found it useful to be like practicing some other repertoire that's not on the audition list. Also because there's already tons of music to practice on the list. But I feel like I'm complementing my musicianship every day, ideally, listening to new stuff, playing with inspiring people,
Yep.
do a recital.
Yep. Okay, see if there's any big questions.
Trumpets. Yeah. Glad you like it.
Oh, this is an interesting one. What's your criteria for including a recording in your rotation for examples for your excerpts?
I would say similar to what you were mentioning about David.
Mm.
If it's Dvorak, he'll listen to the Czech Philharmonic. I mean, I do some of that. I would say like for the Chicago audition, I tried to find great Chicago Symphony recordings.
Yeah.
Unless, there are some Chicago Symphony recordings that I like better than others. Some of them I'm like, I really love how the trombone section sounds on something, and others it's like I actually prefer this other recording. I think just recordings that are musically inspiring. You don't really want to be listening to like some crappy recording on YouTube or like, the Northern South Dakota Community Philharmonic. Like, listen to the Vienna Philharmonic, listen to the London Symphony,
Yeah.
listen to Chicago Symphony, San Francisco. Just great orchestras. Another thing that I did this time around was I signed up for a membership to Medici TV,
Oh yeah.
which
Yeah.
I found really inspiring. And I did that partially. I mean, the main thing that inspired me to do that was Klaus Mekela is the new music director of Chicago Symphony.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of videos on Medici of him conducting different orchestras.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
It's a website where you can watch.
And it's
Good content,
primarily European
Yeah.
musicians and orchestras on there.
Yeah.
And so I knew that like, maybe 10 of my excerpts, there was literally a recording of the guy who was going to be deciding whether or not to employ me conducting Sibelius 7 and Mahler 3 and all these different pieces.
Yeah.
And I found that watching, like in particular, there's a Mozart Requiem that he performed with Concertgebouw, which was just so inspiring.
Huh.
And to be able to have like a great like high definition camera view of like the bassoon solo and like each of the singers, I found that to be really inspiring.
That's interesting.
In general, honestly, like I would imagine most of you are tuning in from the States. Classical music is primarily a European art form. And while, I think Americans do it pretty freaking well a lot of the time. There's something in like the subtlety and expression and stylistic difference of like a German orchestra playing Brahms that is just a little different, and sometimes better, sometimes, I think at the top, at the highest level of like the top orchestras and top musicians, it really comes down to your personal preference.
Yeah.
But I will say that watching like Simon Rattle and the Berlin Phil play Brahms 2 finale just like lit me on fire.
I mean, finding in general whatever lights you on fire is
Yeah.
probably going to be a great
Totally.
metric. The thing that Nick didn't speak to that I found important in my audition prep is the pitch standard of the orchestra. So if I'm auditioning for an A440 orchestra, I'm probably not going to have a lot of recordings that are like for A443 orchestras, because it just gets in I like hear it sharp,
Yeah.
and that affects me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I've literally never thought about that even once.
Yeah.
But who knows? I didn't win Chicago. Maybe that was related.
Well, I didn't win San Francisco. So. Jack says, is it generally available? No, it's like you listen to it and you're kind of playing along and you have the tuner in front of you. You're like, oh, wow, this is sharp. This is
that
real
info
sharp.
generally available? In general, they play higher in Europe. Most European orchestras are like 442 or 443. Most American orchestras are 440 or 441.
And that's what they say, but then any given
there's
night,
also
any given concert, you know, God, Hong Kong Phil, we'd start at 440 and end at like
exactly.
445.
Was it at the beginning or the end of the concert?
So there was another good question in here from Ken, who isn't a high range magic person. He said, "What do you mean by tongue controlled embouchure?"
You want me to explain? The tongue controlled embouchure. So typically when we think about embouchure, we think about the lips and the size of the aperture. The tongue controlled embouchure refers to what's going on inside your mouth with your tongue placement, and pretty much like for the way I think about it, how high is the back of your tongue?
Or the front, front.
And so
how forward, how high.
The exercise that you gave me was to do these kind of like tongue kick slurs.
Yeah.
So to ascend up one partial, ideally without moving the lips part of the embouchure.
Exactly.
And to just sort of kick with the air and bump the tongue up.
Yeah.
So that for me would be like.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
Yep.
And then the way I would practice would do that a little bit and then maybe go up.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
What that does is it trains two things. One, with the air kick, if your tongue is in a air resistant position, it's gonna back up and you're gonna get blocked. So if you're trying to put a lot of air through and your tongue's in a suboptimal position, you're not going to be able to do it. So it's a forcing function that if you actually get that loud, brassy, you have to be open in order to do that. So if you're going up high, that kind of thing, I can't do that if I'm like, back of my throat's all blocked up. So we do the kick as a forcing function and as a check on the free flow of air to the front of the mouth. And then the thing about the tongue is that as it raises up and forward, that will impact the pressurization of the air at the front of the mouth at the aperture. And I've got a really, really good series of images for this that I'm going to pull up. But if you think about your finger at the end of a garden hose, TCE is the finger and the air is the garden hose, and then we're trying to put that pressurized air through the embouchure. And because as Arnold Jacobs demonstrated and measured, for any given octave you're going to use about half the amount of air but twice the speed of air. So TCE is what gives you that. And the idea is that, if you had a lot of constriction in the back or middle of the throat, you'd have a sort of a different pressure, lower, more open, slower flow in the front. Whereas if you have things in the front, then that's kind of the garden hose pressurization that we want.
Mm.
So if you look at this is Sarah Willis here. Is an MRI of her playing, and these it's going up in this direction. This is going to be an F4, the fourth octave, and then this is going to be a B flat 4. So we're continuing up that way.
But this is Sarah Willis's MRI.
Yep.
Wow.
So you can see that there's really a lot of openness on the low B flat. As she ascends, there's less in the oral cavity, less in the oral cavity, less in the oral cavity. But what's interesting is that then as she goes to the F B flat, 2 octaves higher, we've got actually the exact same oral cavity. This is what a shift is. This is why we describe roll in and roll out and jaw position as like rungs of the ladder that you can then use your tongue as like a hand to reach from. So from a low rung, you can reach only so high. As you climb up the ladder, you can reach even higher.
Mm.
That's why we had Nick and we have everybody in High Range Magic play on a mechanically disadvantaged lip set, like very rolled out, not good for high notes, and try and see how high they can go. Because it trains the mechanisms of reaching from whatever rung of the ladder you're on. So as you can see, as she ascends here, everything starts to close, and eventually there's a very, very, very small thing here for this B flat. Should be concert E flat. So going like this. My tongue is just going up to that high point. And now there's like a coordination and relationship between what the chops are doing as far as the rung of the ladder and what the tongue is doing as far as reaching high or low from that rung. The analogy kind of breaks down from that because they're both coordinating and moving in analog, non-digital ways. But that's TCE in a nutshell. And exactly, that's why people advocate vowel usage from low to high. Exactly. It's a crude approximation, unfortunately, and you miss out on some of the opportunities for TCE because it can be a lot more like a which isn't a vowel or a almost a very, very fast pressurized air in the front of the mouth. Anything you want to add to that?
No. Well,
Great.
I mean, other than like it worked, really helped. It was very helpful for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sign up today and watch your dreams come true.
Yeah. Any other questions? We're coming to the end of time. It could be on audition prep, on High Range, on Nick's favorite hobbies, fun facts, recipes. You can unmute yourself and ask if you want, or drop it in the chat.
I'll ask. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've taken any auditions in the past where there's more than one position up for grabs at the time of the audition. How do you prioritize if there are 2 positions that are being essentially vetted at the same time?
I have not engaged in that before. Man, I don't know that I have a great answer other than it's all the same thing, really.
Yeah.
Like it, whether it's fourth horn or second horn or third horn or whatever it is, like the same principles will apply. You want to play the music how the music goes. You want to ascend beyond the standard of beautiful sound, good intonation, clear articulation, great rhythm. You need to get the committee to vote for you. They need to trust that you can do anything you're going to be asked to do, You want them to feel inspired by your musicianship. You want to the feeling that I want as an audition committee member is relief.
Yeah.
I'm going into the audition thinking like, oh God, please let there be somebody who I hear and I would feel stoked to work with them every day. Because the worst feeling is a no hire, or actually the worse than a no hire is hiring somebody who you don't think should have been hired.
Yeah.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because you might be stuck playing with this person for 40 years or more.
So you say relief. Tom Hooten, interestingly, says the same thing. He says, "I don't want to feel inspired.
Well,
I want
to feel inspired too."
Well, he says you don't. He says he doesn't want to feel inspired. He wants to feel trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go on the record as saying I would like to feel both.
Yeah, totally. Somebody asked, what did you learn sitting on audition committees that you might have used in your prep for Chicago? And I think that there's like interpersonal stuff here as well, if I may. Because there's something that you learn from audition committees about politics, orchestra politics, relationships as well, that goes into your thinking about how to approach an audition. I thought. I'll leave it up to you to
yeah,
how
I'm
much
not
detail
sure exactly
you
what
want to share
you're getting at about
Yeah.
that. But what I'll say is like, basically, I think that being on audition committees has made me a much better auditioner because you just understand the part of the process that you don't see until you've done it. I mean,
But what was informed about your? How did you prepare differently for Chicago or Houston?
I think the short answer is that it's hard to say specifically what changed because it's more that like my whole perspective changed, and so what changed is like 1,000 tiny things, and also just that I'm older now. I've been doing this professionally for a little over 10 years, and I'm just like a better musician than I was 10 years ago. I'm more experienced. I think that one thing about that I feel as a committee member is if somebody plays something that I really like, I will root for them for the rest of their round. If their first couple excerpts are really beautiful, inspiring, changing styles well, I like there's a flair, there's a joy, something. If they stumble later on, I will go to bat for them.
Yeah.
And something that I will do as a committee member is like if they played something and I have a feeling they can do it better, I'll ask them to do it again. I'll ask them to make a change. I'm throwing them a bone. I'm trying to help them advance. Also, depending on the policy, some orchestras allow discussion, some don't. Sometimes it depends on the round. That's one thing. Like, you know, I've gone to bat for candidates before and tried to advocate for other people to vote for them. I think that making a good first impression is really huge. Like, if your first couple of notes, you know, these are often really long days sitting on committees, and you might be a little cranky, you might be hungry, you might be tired. It's kind of draining. It's super draining.
Yeah.
If somebody plays with like style and beauty and panache and accuracy and good intonation and beautiful sound in the first 10 seconds of the audition, I will pay attention until the end of their round. If they don't do those things and I'm bored or I'm like, oh, like they're, you know, it's not a beautiful sound, it's not a clear articulation, I will tune out, and it would be very difficult for them to win my vote. Even if they would just have to work very hard to redeem themselves. So that's one thing. I have some thoughts about section round and anything about when the screen comes down. You want to comport yourself in a way that demonstrates, like with your body language, that you're you know, you don't want to be arrogant about it, but walk on stage with confidence that it's like, I'm absolutely qualified to do this job. Smile. For a section round, I was really impressed with the way that Dave Cooper comported himself and was friendly and collaborative with the horn section in San Francisco, and asked them about like, oh, you know, what tempo do you like? You know, how do you guys like to approach this? And the section round sounded better as a result. of his approach. Some people walk on for a section round and they're super awkward.
Right.
And at that point, the committee, if once they can see you, they're making judgments about you that have nothing to do with how you sound. One other thing, if you like, I've been to in my Houston audition, some of the other finalists, I think there were 3 or 4 of us in the finals, and the other candidates were younger than me and had clearly played really well to get to that point in the audition. And when they walked on stage, they weren't wearing like formal concert clothes. And I remember thinking, like, why would you disadvantage yourself like that, especially being a younger person? You come off as like unserious, not knowing, like, you know, not getting it. It like really doesn't take that much effort to just like put on a dress shirt and put on dress shoes. Like,
and in contrast,
don't disadvantage yourself like that.
In contrast, another Dave Cooper. I mean, this like legend of legends. When you remember when the YouTube Symphony happened? So Dave was like, I don't know, 6 years old or something. I mean, he was really young. And he auditioned for YouTube Symphony, and he wore a full tuxedo in the video audition for YouTube Symphony. Nobody in the entire world wore a tuxedo for their video audition for YouTube Symphony. He's just sitting there like super geeky, like the horns as big as his entire torso. And there's something about that.
Absolutely. Give yourself every possible advantage. One other thing that I've done, I ideally like to fly to the city where I'm auditioning 2 days in advance. So I've got, like, you know, if you can work it out with your budget, 2 nights of hotel sleep, and not, you know, airplanes make my breathing a little bit less free. So having just more distance between the flight and when I need to play, maybe you rehearse where you're going to eat breakfast before the audition. Like, make sure that you know the place is going to be open, you know what you're going to eat, what time you're going to go to bed, the right amount of exercise, the right length of warm-up. Make sure you bring your noise-canceling headphones to the like, there are every possible variable that I can control and stack the deck to my advantage. That will help me play 1% better is something that's going to contribute.
I have a really funny example of this, which is Nick wrote a piece for me, or wrote a piece that I'm playing on a concert of his later. It was a really, really hard solo that I've been practicing. And, you know, I promise I'm going to tie this into auditioning. But you see, this is not concert pitch, y'all. This is horn and F going up to a high E flat. And I realized, like, it's fast. I don't quite have it yet. I know.
Sorry.
The composer.
Sorry.
I know it's supposed to go that fast. What I realized was I'm going to just get this thing super solid first.
That's great.
And so that I don't have to give any cognition to playing that. Because if I've got 10 units of cognition and one of them is going to playing that thing in the staff, I've only got 9 units of cognition for the super high E flat slur. I want all 10 spoons for that super high slur. And so what that means is that I make everything after it as easy as possible, everything before it as easy as possible. With the audition, like Nick's saying, if you know where you're going to have breakfast, if you know your water source, if like you know what you're going to do, you have it all planned out, the route you're going to take, the length of the drive, you're saving spoons for the stuff that really matters.
Totally.
It's really wise.
There's a question of which Steely Dan song is that? This is a song I wrote called Lucy Lady, and that section just sounds kind of Steely Dan-ish to me. And sometimes when I'm writing, this is completely unrelated, but I'm just jumping on. Sometimes it's like, you know, this is the intro, and this is the verse, and this is the bridge, and this is the pre-chorus, and whatever. And in that particular song, like, I don't know that it's exactly a pre-chorus, but it just felt, I just called it Steely Dan. And then there's also a Joni Mitchell moment. And then the chorus happens after that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You'll just have to tune in to this concert we're doing. It'll be live on my Instagram tomorrow around 7
Oh, that's
p.m.
fun. It'll be on your
Pacific
Instagram?
time.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
sweet. It's Nick Platoff is the Instagram, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Nick Platoff. I'll put it in the chat too. Yeah, he's got a really fun Instagram. The other thing I'll say is that if you can't fly there early, you can sometimes arrange some sort of wellness treatment, like a massage. I remember when I took the Philly Orchestra sublist audition, I flew from San Francisco. I had a San Francisco Symphony concert the night before. And so I went from a concert to the airport, took a red-eye flight from the airport, landing in Philly at 6 a.m. for a 10 a.m. audition. Suboptimal.
Yeah.
I reached out to 5 massage studios and said, "Hey, I've got a really special thing. Would you be willing to give me a massage at 7 a.m.?" And one of them said, "Yeah, we'll give you a 2-hour massage and sound healing." And so I landed at the airport 6 a.m., got my Uber straight to the massage. They were sitting there, you know, with the sound healing dude, the massage person. I got a 2-hour massage and sound healing. And I walked out of there feeling like $1,000,000, crushed the audition at 10 a.m., and got on Philly's sublist, which, you know, it's like, it's just incomparable experience getting to play with that orchestra because of how I took care of myself despite the challenges.
That's a nice story.
Yeah.
And very Marsian.
Very Marsian, yeah. So we're basically at time. Are there any other burning questions for Nick? Going once? Going twice? Sold. Do you want to play the high range thing from Inward and Upward? Do you have that memorized? That part? Just to play people out?
Do you have it on your computer?
Oh, I might. Wait, Alan said, how do you apply for European orchestra auditions if you only audition in the U.S.? You just follow whatever their process is. They'll have every
they
orchestra
should have
has
stuff on their website. They have, what is it, like, there's a what is it? It's called like Das Orchester or something. You know, there are a lot of these good like Audition Cafe or like Audition Forum or something, these websites that have tell them you're Canadian. Yeah,
Tell them you're
might be good.
Canadian.
There are these websites that announce like every little thing that's happening. I think just stay vigilant and then apply by the deadline, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's actually probably the easy part.
That's the correct one. All right, Nick and I are going to play you a little excerpt from a piece that he wrote for us some years ago. It's called Inward and Upward, and we'll just close it out with this sweet little thing
Where do you want to start?
from going into 78.
And then end 85?
85.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, it's cold. All right, I'll take the pickup. Yeah,
Yay.
great.
Even better than you sounded on it 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, those high concert Gs now are so much easier.
Because you were figuring out crazy high range stuff then, but
Yeah.
this was before you
Before I started
high
teaching
range
it.
magic and
Teaching high range magic has been one of the very best things for my high range.
yeah.
So at least it works for me and everyone that does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you have any caveats, or this wouldn't work for, or like don't do this if, or you know?
I don't necessarily have a caveat. I would just try to put in a plug for remembering why we're even caring about our high range in the first place, which
Yeah.
is music.
Yeah.
The reason to do this is so that you can play more music and have more fun playing music, and to be more free of worries when
Yeah.
you're playing. You know, this is about making life more enjoyable and satisfying and meaningful for ourselves and others, and don't lose sight of that, even though it's very, very, very easy to.
Deliver that freedom and joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
The high range is like, 0.002% of music.
Yeah.
But we can spend 99% of our time worrying about it,
Yeah.
I know I have.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
Cool.
Good to have you on.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Be well. Happy practicing.
Thanks for coming, y'all.